What's going on, everybody? It's your man Cleveland Terry, and today Phase released their first major firmware update to the Phase wireless system. Is it finally enough? Let's talk about it now. Now, I've been in the beta for a while, so I've been testing it, and I've been able to see kind of the changes and the updates they've been making over time. So there have been a number of things that they've fixed in this release. I'm going to just read them off so you can kind of see them here. The receiver, they've added auto calibration to the system for the phase internal clocks, which means that the correct BPM should show on both the receivers at the same time. As you recall, one of my issues was I had super variances from one receiver to the next. One was showing, let's say, 100 BPM, the other one was showing a 98 BPM. So they've gone ahead and they've fixed that issue. So now the receiver should be more in line. They've made the pairing process easier, although I didn't really have that big of a problem with pairing, but they've made that easier also. And they've improved the USB communications so we don't have those strange dropouts where it doesn't seem to be communicating with the remote or the receiver. They've also fixed some security issues that kind of locked you out of the system. Maybe it went to sleep and then it just never came back up. They fixed these issues also, so that's going to be a really big improvement. They've restructured and optimized the battery consumption, so the battery should last longer now, or it should at least be more efficient in the way it consumes energy. Improve the strength of the radio frequency to improve accuracy and stability. Auto adaptation of the speed of the connection according to the activity of the remotes, which will help improve battery life. And last but not least, the algorithm with performance memory that automatically changes channels to avoid using busy connections. So they have fixed the channel swapping in order to find a better connection. So the algorithm that changes those channels so it doesn't interfere with any other radio frequencies has been improved. So now the battery life should be better because you're not seeing well, we never saw it, but you're not seeing under the hood the phase continuously trying to change channels, trying to find a better channel. When you have to keep switching channels, you're going to run a little more battery power. So those are the main things that it fixed. So let's talk about how you update the phase system. It's fairly simple, but there are definitely steps that you have to take in order to make sure that you update correctly. So first thing we have to do is we have downloaded the MWN Connect app, and just like all of you guys, we're going to go ahead and open that up. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. And as you can see here, under System is where we want to go. So we want to go to System, and then we're going to update the transmitter. However, you need to stop right there because it's very important that you do this. First thing you have to do is take the remotes out of the transmitter, and we're going to update each one of these pieces individually. So now we're going to go into New Update. We're going to click on New Update, and yada yada yada. It tells you exactly what I just read to you. We're going to go ahead and update. Before starting, make sure your computer is connected to the internet, which I am. We're going to hit Next, and then it's going to start the update process. This takes a few minutes to do. So now we're updated. We click on Done. Now we have to go back to the system again, and then we have to put in our phase remotes. So we're going to put them in one at a time, and we're going to check for updates. And then it'll say, I'm in phase remote B. It's ready to update. So we have to update this one. Then we got to take it out and we have to update the other one. I know you can leave it in. I just find it easier to just make sure that they're both out, just to be on the safe side. Once this updates, we'll do the same thing for A, and then we will be ready to rock and roll. All right, so this one's done. Now, after we do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and move this box away. I'm gonna take this guy, I'm gonna put it right on here, and it should, as soon as they change to a solid color, we know that they're ready to work properly. Now in the main setup, we have a new calibration option. Now this is beta. Now we know that it has the auto calibration, but now we can actually manually calibrate both of these just to make sure that they're actually synced up the way we want them to be. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to make sure that we're both on 0 pitch, and then We're going to go ahead and start them so they're running, and then hit the calibration beta. Now it's syncing both remotes together to try to make sure that they are both running at the very same frequency. Okay, calibration of your remote is complete. Now you're good to go. We're actually going to head over into, now you can close out the MWM Connect. You don't need to use that anymore. So let's go over to Rekordbox. Now here's the funny thing. When the beta was released, I went into Serato because I've been doing a lot of my testing in Serato. Serato has been going crazy on me today. It's doing this weird thing where it's literally scrolling. The moment I open it up, the moment I turn it on, it just scrolls through my catalog. I have no idea why, but it's doing that right now. Strangely enough, I thought it might be the mixer that's causing the problem. Maybe my knobs are messed up, but I open up Rekordbox and it's fine. So I'm still troubleshooting what the hell's going on with Serato right now. But for the time being, we're going to use Rekordbox for this. Now, one of the issues that I was having was one of my remotes was displaying one number, 1 BPM, and the other remote was displaying something close, but not close enough. One was 100, one was 98. So they have fixed this issue. And if you look in the Rekordbox under the BPM, you'll notice that, yes, they are both playing at 100. You will get variation. It might go from 100 to 99.9. I can't blame them for that because I'm going to assume that the turntables aren't exactly precise, so there might be some variation here and there. So I'm not really concerned with that. The most important part is they are both exhibiting basically the same number. Now, obviously there will be some variation here and there, but as far as keeping them in sync, I was able to keep this going for at least a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So wasn't really having any big problems with it. Another issue that we were having was the cue drift. Now the cue drift, they have improved. It is not completely fixed yet, but it has been improved. And so basically, if something is sitting at say 12 o'clock and you keep doing a series of things, what you might end up having is 12 o'clock change to 1 o'clock change to 2 o'clock. It does take a lot longer for you to get to that point, but it's still there, but it's much better than it was before. So what I've noticed about the cue drift is that over time it just starts to end up going backwards. So, but as long as you're not staying in it too long, as far as beat juggling is concerned, you don't have a real problem, but it will start to drift. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Now, see, right here, this should be at 12 o'clock right now. But it has drifted all the way to 1 o'clock. This one, this one's a little better. So there's still a little bit of an issue. I find that over time, you get a little bit of drift either forward or backwards. Usually over the last couple of, before this beta release, I was getting a little more backwards versus the forward. Now I'm getting a little more forward, but it's just over time, and I find it's only when you're really spinning the record and maybe it's just having a little bit of an issue kind of finding itself where you are. I mean, it's still pretty impressive for what it does, but yeah, we're still not getting the true one-to-one on that kind of stuff. Everything else, you know, it's pretty much on. They have not fixed the issue with Serato going into internal mode. That is still an ongoing issue. I can confirm that if you're using Serato, it will go to sleep at some point. You will have to take it out of internal mode and then it'll work just fine. I'm not seeing any of that in Rekordbox. That is a Serato only issue. Rekordbox is actually pretty solid with it. The update is good. It's what needed to happen because the biggest issue was making sure that the BPMs, that everything was in sync. However, there's still some work to go. And I think over time, we will see improvements. I know they were talking about MIDI and all this other stuff that it's going to do. You know, when it's all said and done, we just wanted to do what it should do, not all of the wonderful things that it could do. So let's make sure that we get all of those things perfect, all of the things that need to happen perfect, and then we can move on to other things. My only concern, and it's been my concern since the beginning, is the speed at which they improve things. I hope that they don't sit on their laurels and say, well, it's good enough now, so let's just forget about really pushing to get things resolved, to get them resolved. I hope that's not what we're going to see here. One of the only issues that I see that we've seen is track record. They're a little slow to get things done, communication and fixing things. I mean, you know, the phase came out how long ago, and we are finally getting the fixes that really put it to where it should have been when we first got it. Now, the other fixes that should come, I mean, I don't know. Are we going to have to wait another 5 months, 6 months for that to happen? So that's really my only concern with the whole thing. Otherwise, the phase is a great product. I will give a complete review over it at some point in the next couple of weeks, but for now, definitely update your phase. It's really, really important that you do, and at least at a minimum, you're going to get some more consistency out of it. So guys, all right, that's it for me. If you found what I said here useful, hit that like button. If you found what I said here really useful, hit that subscribe button. Always a pleasure. If I don't talk to you later, we'll talk soon. Peace. You got to